And welcome back to, I don't know what I've dubbed this series, creating the Pokemon team for said character series. I mean, it's really more, it's its own series that it's not like what Lanticore would this character belong into kind of series, Lanticore video playlist. It's what is this character's Pokemon team playlist? I don't even remember if I made a playlist for this or not. I think I did. Either way. So we're on to the next one. Now, because only one person has given me suggestions for so far for this, I didn't want to just make it all of their suggestions leading into the end of that and then go into other characters. So I figured off and on until other people start giving me suggestions, I will be going with characters I choose. And since I have an ongoing My Hero Academia Pokemon video going on, I figured it was only apt that I, start off with My Hero character. And really, I mean, there's no better one to start with than the main character himself, Izuku Midoriya, aka Deco. They hear Deco is the name of a hero. So yeah, obviously we're starting off with Deco in this. Now, should note that if you are watching my Pokemon Academia crossover What If, then you'll probably already know all the Pokemon that are actually going to be on his team, except for one. And I'll explain why that one Pokemon isn't on this team and another one is when we get to said Pokemon. But yeah, if you're not a big fan of watching my What Ifs, and quite frankly, by the numbers, there's a lot of people who don't watch that What If series, and that's fine. But you still want to know what kind of team I would give Midoriya. This is a good way to just circumvent that whole scenario. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So the first one up that I chose on his team in the What If, and I think it still works really well, is Volcarona. Now, why Volcarona? Well, the idea of One for All is that it's this torch, it's this flame of energy that gets passed down from generation to generation. It gets stronger with each generation. It is this flame that starts out small, but it glows brightly. It is depicted as like a burning fire, and with All Might, it was depicted as a flame that he was trying to keep lit as his quirk was no longer there. So I like the idea of Larvesta being the starting flame that Izuku Midoriya got. This little fluff ball, bug, fire Pokemon. And then eventually evolving into the true blaze that is One for All in Volcarona. Volcarona, by the way, is one of my favorite Pokemon. It's a great design. Bug fire is a unique typing. You missed out on having a Dynamax or a Gigantamax version that looked like Mothra, but whatever. You kind of got that with Butterfree, I guess. But Volcarona it's a powerful Pokemon as well. Don't mince words, it is a strong Pokemon. I think it's just a Pokemon that really works with Midoriya. It really does. It's, excuse me, it's not like the end-all be-all Pokemon. It's like Midoriya, it's a Pokemon that needs the right environment to grow, but give it that right environment, and you got yourself a powerhouse. And I think with Midoriya, you would have that opportunity. So the next Pokemon on the list is one that, again, if you watch it, again, I'll let you know when the Pokemon that's not in the actual What If team shows up. It's a Pokemon I think represents a different aspect of Midoriya. Now, its pre-evolution is very much Midoriya in a nutshell. Not very powerful Pokemon, but a Pokemon that's trying very hard to get powerful, and it can eventually evolve into something that's worthwhile. It's a Pokemon that represents a very unique aspect of Midoriya, and that goes to Hitmontop. Now, Hitmontop obviously evolves from Tyrogue, who is kind of like this high school wrestler type rugby player Pokemon. It doesn't learn many attacks, mind you, unless you egg move it and stuff like that. But it still is it's a Pokemon with a lot of potential. And Hitmontop is the unique in between of Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, both of which do represent an aspect of Deku. Hitmonlee representing the shoot style with its kicks, whereas Hitmonchan is representing the punching, smashing aspect. But neither of them really are synonymous with that, or I should say, neither of them are really, I think, the best of the 3 Hitmon evolutions to represent that. Whereas Hitmontop, I feel, really represents the kind of combined style that would be the shoot style. He's a very fast, very fluid Pokemon. The triple kick really works well in representing, the kicking aspect of the shoot style. But the difference clearly between the two is that kicks Hitmontop is not limited to kicking type attacks. He is more than capable of learning other type attacks, like Brick Break, close combat. Granted, it probably involves feet, mind you, close combat, but still. So I felt that Hitmontop, especially evolving from Tyrogue, who's a Pokemon that's trying to prove itself, really worked in this regard, in my opinion. So Hitmontop stands out as the number 2 team member of Midoriya's team. Next, we go on to some more on the nose, but not on the nose Pokemon. Now, this one, I don't limit myself to any sort of limitation. So that you can have fire, or you can have legendary. I could have as many starters as I felt fit the character. I try at best to limit to maybe 1 legendary and mythic. But still, ultimately, I still go as many as I can. Now, luckily for anyone who's going to get concerned, he only has 1 legendary and mythic on his team. And for me, that is represented with Zeraora. Now, Zeraora obviously is an electric fighting, and not even electric fighting, though he looks like he should be. An electric type Pokemon that is clearly representing full cowl with Midoriya. He's clearly an electric Pokemon that looks like it's a fighter. He even looks kind of like Midoriya in terms of how he is presenting himself, all of that. But he's more than the way he's depicted. He's a tough guy who defends innocent Pokemon. That is Midoriya too, in a nutshell. Out of that, he's got the Plasma Fist technique, or Plasma Fist attack. And you've got a Pokemon that I think really does represent Midoriya in the right way. So, Zeraora came in at number 3. Excuse me if it sounds like I'm pausing. I got a headache derived from like a cavity, I think, and those are one of those headaches that are really hard to go away, and it's actually starting to make me feel a little bit nauseous. So, if I pause for a minute, I'm trying to maintain myself throughout the video. But anyway, coming in at the number 4 spot, I need a Pokemon that represented his Black Whip ability. And for me, surprisingly, that means I needed basically a Dark type. A Dark type that probably could learn Dark Pulse. And for me, Umbreon was the big winner in that field. Now, I chose Umbreon more or less because Eevee is like the perfect representation of Midoriya, a Pokemon that's not very strong to start with, but the potential is so extreme that it just works for Midoriya's character. And being an Umbreon being a Dark type Pokemon, learning something like Dark Pulse makes it perfect, I think, for the Black Whip technique. Now, unfortunately, there isn't really a Pokemon like a Dark type that I think really represents Black Whip as a whole, but I felt the fact that Umbreon can learn Dark Pulse, learn Dark type attacks. I think it might be able to learn, like, through tutoring or some kind, learn Nightshade. I felt Umbreon, evolving from Eevee, who was also a perfect fit for Midoriya, was the perfect fit in that regard. So that now leaves us with the remaining 2 Pokemon. Now, this first one is definitely a one that is on the team, but you'll have to understand why I chose it. So coming in is Metagross. Now, in the What If series, I wanted a pseudo legendary on this team. I felt that was prudent. Metagross, I felt I had to think on it for a while, was like almost the perfect fit for a legendary or pseudo legendary on his team. It's a hyper intelligent Pokemon. It's extremely powerful. Metagross is our powerhouse Pokemon, but it's a hyper intelligent Pokemon. And Izuku Midoriya is one of the smartest kids in his class. He's also a thinker and a strategist. So it made sense to me that he would have a very highly intelligent Pokemon on his team. But add on to the fact that Metagross can hover in the air, just float on their own. And what is a quirk that Midoriya recently acquired thanks to All for One is All for One. One for All is Float from Nana Shimura. So add that together, add it's a powerhouse Pokemon, and you get, I think, a very apt candidate for Midoriya's team. So, last but not least, we come to the last Pokemon that I felt would be on his team. And that Pokemon isn't, at least not, is not the same Pokemon that appears in the What If. The Pokemon that appears in the What If is a Braviary. Now, why a Braviary? Well, in the What If, All Might has a Braviary. And Midoriya wants to emulate All Might on some level. So, when he sees a Rufflet, he's like, I could have a Braviary just like All Might. So he catches the Braviary. But honestly, take like the hero worship out of the equation. There's nothing about a Braviary that really represents Midoriya. So I had to figure out what would be the fifth Pokemon. So I captured an aspect of One for All. I captured Black Whip. I captured Float and Hyper Intelligence. I captured Full Cowling. I captured Shoot Style. So what did I have left to capture with Midoriya? Well, I'm like, I haven't really captured the basic ability we ever saw with All for One, and that's, super strength and smashing. But okay, what Pokemon could really represent that? I mean, I could give him the superpower Pokemon Gigas, but that doesn't seem to work out very well. I mean, yeah, it's got Slow Start, which could actually fit with Midoriya, but something about it just didn't make sense to me. So I had to think, and finally I came to the conclusion, and you can maybe argue this one a bit if you wanted, let me get past there, is Lucario. So Lucario it's a Pokemon that I feel like it represents him in more ways than one, especially now that we learned his third quirk from One for All. In Danger Sense. It's a fighting type Pokemon. Midoriya is a predominantly physical fighter. Is a powerful Pokemon. It can learn attacks like Superpower in close combat. It's a durable Pokemon, like All for One offers, I keep saying All for One, One for All offers enhanced durability. But, thanks to the most recent chapter, we know that a technique, or a quirk that Midoriya now has is the fourth user's quirk, Danger Sense. Danger Sense is a quirk that basically seems to act like Spider Sense, like One for All, or it's a One for All, it's a sensory alert quirk that allows him to perceive danger. Something we don't know the exact explanation of what it does, what's limitation. It clearly gives him sensory overload though, so there is some limitations to it. However, what one aspect of Lucario is the ability to sense aura and be able to move and sense things without having its eyes open. So. And we've seen this happen several times in the series and movies. So add all that together, you add it evolving from Rilu. I can never pronounce that name right. I think it's Rilu. I think it's Rilu. Who also could be depicted as kind of a Midoriya stand-in. A Pokemon that starts out inexperienced, has potential, but needs to grow, and ultimately does and becomes extremely powerful. I think that is a very good descriptor of Midoriya, a kid who started out with nothing, quirkless, and ultimately will become the strongest hero ever by his own admission. So that is the team I have for Izuku Midoriya, Deco, Volcarona, Zeraora, Lucario, Metagross, Hitmontop, and Umbreon. What would your team look like for him? Do you agree with this team or do you disagree with this team? Put in the comments below. But hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell if you want notifications. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I will see you folks next time. Have a good one.